Hey, howdy, hey, Ohana. Welcome to Now That's Disney's Disney Night Live. It's Wednesday evening, 8 p.m. Eastern. I am joined by Skipper Jay and our special guest tonight, Steve Seifert, who is from TikiMan's official. Wait, what's the whole thing?
Come on, Dave. Come on.
Official, unofficial.
Unofficial Ohana, right?
You got to say that so the lawyers don't come after you.
Right, exactly. We're the unofficial Now That's Disney group and unofficial Disney Night Live group. And Steve's a 3-time repeat guest here. So,
Wow.
And yeah, I know. I think the only 3-time repeat guest that we've ever had. So, congratulations.
Nice. Thank you. Aloha, guys.
Yeah, aloha. There's no award for that, but there is an award for Stitch on his special day, 626 day.
They should TP the castle every 626, like they did for the opening.
Pink, right? Make it a birthday cake.
Should.
Yeah. You know what? I loved that birthday cake. I'm not gonna lie. I still love.
I mean, it was only.
Nothing wrong with that cake at all. You know, I was not upset at all about that. I'm just doing a couple more show shares because there's so many. But I'm appreciative of all of our friends that let us share our show out. Let me see if I can. I don't know if I can share it into your page, Steve.
Dave, I was having trouble there for a minute. It wasn't letting me share when you first shared.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh, weird.
I need about halfway through the intro music to get that shared.
Yeah, I think I might be able to copy it and put it into your group. It is a group, so it's TikiMan's Polynesian Village Resort Ohana.
Oh, that's the group, right? Because I got the group and I have the page,
right? And he has the page, right?
Yep, yeah. That's right. Because people can share stuff to my group as long as they're in it,
right?
But the page I built so many years ago was with that page maker or that page. I forgot what they called it, but it was they didn't have groups then, so you had to create it almost like a business. And unfortunately, people couldn't share to it, which is one of the reasons I started the group, along with being able to kind of keep track of who I've letting in, and because you just don't. I was getting spam on the other one and everything, so it's just we have a really good group going that shares a lot of good information and old pictures and everything. So it's been great.
Cool. Well, we got a lot to dive into tonight. I want to say hi to anybody watching again. I've gone over this numerous times, but we've got, the issue with StreamYard and Facebook. And so I'm watching our Facebook friends over here. And I'd like to say hello to my wife, Kim. Hi, Lily. Hello to anybody else tuning in that hasn't commented. We're also live on Instagram Live. Let me move that over here so I see some folks there.
I know comments floated up on my end, but because of the StreamYard Facebook change, I feel so lonely over here.
I know. I can't take it anymore, and they've got to do something about it. Facebook, I'm so upset with you. Hi, T9. Yeah, man. What's up with it? But we are going to talk about some cool, things tonight with Steve about the Polynesian and about some other things, Disney items, I guess you could say, that never came to fruition. Before we do that, some old may happen, but I'd like to welcome in all of our friends over at dmagicworld.com and say hello to our one and only sponsor, our 24/7 streaming Disney music station with 2 channels, the parks music and the movie music. You can't beat Deep Magic World. They are the best. Again, I tell you guys every week when we're live, I listen to them at work all the time. If you want to hear something, write into them, request it. You could hear any of the Disney parks, attractions music or park music. And you can also hear our shows every Sunday and Thursday from 2 to 4 p.m., I think, or 2 to 3 p.m. They play our live shows in their entirety. So thank you very much to D Magic World, and away we go, man. So we've got some cool stuff to talk to. Lily says the Poly is now at the top of my bucket list to stay at. Yeah, I mean,
Lily, the Poly is my own personal happiest place on earth.
Right.
Stay there at least one time.
That's kind of why we built this bar in our what used to be our dining room, because we come in here and it kind of feels like we're at the Polynesian. And my wife, grew up going to the Polynesian since she was like 4 years old, so like 70, late 70s, and it just gives you that feeling of the rest of the world just doesn't exist.
Yeah,
right. Yeah, that's how I feel when I'm there. That's why we love it.
That's truly the spirit of aloha takes over once you cross that threshold.
Yeah,
right.
For me, it's the spirit of lapu lapus, but
that's
sure.
Well, that can make you feel like you're in the Polynesian no matter where you're at if you drink enough.
Yeah. Oh yeah. My wife made me a shirt. Actually, I think. Wait, what's the bartender that's always at the outside lava pool bar? Is his name Steve as well?
No, Steve's always at the Barefoot Bar.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Right. Yeah.
At the lava pool.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because he saw my shirt and he's like, "That's the best one I've ever seen." My wife made me a shirt and said, "I'm just here for the lapu lapu," and he was very impressed with it. So,
I found some old pictures of Steve when they had to do a temporary bar over at. Well, it wasn't the Oasis pool yet; it was still the East pool, because they had closed down the volcano pool to make it the lava pool. So they had this little hut that they made that they sat out on the pool. And he used to have to roll all his stuff out from one of the rooms in Samoa every day to make this little bar.
Yeah,
it was pretty bad. He doesn't like it when I remind him of that.
No, I wouldn't either. Bringing back some bad memories.
Yeah, right. Lots of changes at the Polynesian, which is some of the stuff we'll go over.
Yeah,
we'll talk about. Right. Lily says she was married in Hawaii. They eloped, so that is where they want to stay. The only other deluxe estate is Wilderness Lodge. And Kim says it's funny we took a break from our home DVC poly this year, and we stayed at Bay Lake, and we love it. No. But the pool needs some help there, and
Dave Rosemary says hello from the Disney Fantasy.
Hello to Miss Rosemary Dominguez Cavalis. That's one of my friends. Hello from the Disney Fantasy. It must be a fantasy to be on there right now. So, this is kind of the pain in the neck that you can't pull the comments up in StreamYard anymore. You've got to, I used to read them out loud anyway, but we've got to pull them somewhere else. But,
Now I actually have to go to another page to look, to read that. It's so lonely in the comments on my end now.
It's just so lonely in general. Lonely. Down here in my basement like a gimp. But I've got monitors up to make sure that I'm watching you guys. And please share us out and do whatever you want. Now we are going to dive into some very cool, stuff. And Steve's got a lineup because, Steve is really serious about the Polynesian, the poly, and the history of the poly. And we were talking the other day too, because I'm also pretty serious about, and I think people that are in the group and watch the show. Hey, Scott Dieter, what's up, man?
Scott.
We like to get our facts straight. And it's not to make money off of. It's not anything. It's just a passion, of the things that we invest our time with, like Disney or the Polynesian. But we want to make sure that people are getting their facts straight, or if they're sharing information, that they're getting it correct, or not putting things out there for people to go on that aren't correct. So we were having that chat the other day. So. But if you head over to, again, TikiMan's Polynesian Village Resort Ohana, the group, or there is the unofficial page that's still out there as well. There's just so much history that Steve puts on there, that he does his research on, and his time and effort to make sure that's correct. So I just wanted to start off by saying that. But Steve's got a lineup tonight because he's got some things to talk about that are really interesting. So I will let him take it away.
Yeah, thanks. And I better get it right because I got Scott watching. He's one of my moderators and on my page. And he gets
Scott, you let us know.
Because he lives close. I'm in California, so I need somebody to go over there and do some work for me. So, but he usually just goes over and gets a drink. But anyway,
what's wrong with that?
So no, it's not for sure. You can actually bar hop just at the Polynesian. There's enough bars there. But so for people that don't know, I started my site back in the 90s, and you couldn't just go Google. There was no Google. You could Netscape maybe, but there was nothing to go and search for pictures really. And I found when I started going on my own as an adult in the mid 90s, I found it was really hard to get information on the Polynesian. There was brochures at your AAA travel agent, and that was about it. You didn't know what you're getting if you got a lagoon view room, or at that time there was lagoon and garden view. So it's like I started posting pictures of my trips, and people just ate it up. So that kind of morphed into what I had as a website for the longest time. And every time people wanted to know more information, I added more to it to help them plan and know what's there and what it looks like and everything. So for me to get my information, I wanted to make sure I was getting it right. I watch a lot of videos on YouTube now of people that are the experts going around the resort and telling you history. And I don't think they know the Polynesian past like the early 2000s, or they just Googled Wikipedia and took the information from there. And unfortunately, a lot of facts that aren't right, keep on getting, propagated to other sites or videos or whatever. So since I have such a passion for wanting that information to be correct, I try and, post it on my site or correct it if I see it or something. I'm sure it drives people crazy. They're probably like, who's this know-it-all coming along and telling me I'm wrong? But I don't mean it that way at all. I'm passionate about the history, because to try and get the history was so difficult for me over the last 20-something years, because Disney doesn't keep the history. I literally had to dig through, people dug through desks in the back office that's behind that wall in the Polynesian lobby to give me documents that just were collecting dust in there. And it listed like what happened every year. They changed the cast costume, or the Luau Cove was built, or the building for the Bellman was built out front, or this longhouse was added, or whatever. They had it line by line. So I started a history section of my page, besides having like the breakdown of all the longhouses and everything else. So it wasn't easy to get that information. So it's still not, because if somebody tries to Google it, it really doesn't come up. And now that my page is kind of somewhat, it's not functioning any longer. It's still kind of there, but there's no place to kind of get the facts. So there's a bunch of stuff that sometimes I like to make sure we get the right information out there so that can start being spread. And so one of the things we were going to start talking about today that is kind of everyone has always been interested in, including myself, was where did the little Polynesian icon guy come from? Because when I first started doing my site, nobody could tell me. Nobody knew. So then I originally asked people in Disney, I asked people in Imagineering, and then I finally just said, I'm going to go down. I went and visited Oceanic Arts, which is the place that did all the carvings for the Polynesian for when they first opened, including they did stuff for Disneyland, Adventureland when it first opened. So that's, predates even the Polynesian stuff. So the Maui, they now call them Maui because let's go through the picture. So it started with
Maui, but
right. So it started with a Papua New Guinea shield, which some people might say, hey, that kind of looks familiar, because so these shields were it was a highlands area of Papua New Guinea, had these shields for archers. So, and a lot of people complain that the ones at the Polynesian are installed upside down, because that little cutout is actually for an archer to, he would put it on its side and his arm would go through it, because it would protect, I guess, kind of, you could say his blind side, right? So if he's shooting at somebody, this is on the side of him protecting, because if you see the two holes in the top, that's for a strap that would kind of sling over his arm, almost like you'd carry a purse, right? So these shields, there's actually one, I wish I could have found the picture for you guys to show, but there's a shield that Oceanic Arts had found from Papua New Guinea that looks almost identical to the one, go ahead and show the one from the Polynesian. Looks just like that. I think the only difference I noticed in it was there's like a dot in between the two. What it is it's supposed to be like I was told like a boy and a girl on this shield. Well, I don't know what the significance of that is, but they basically made, they carved up a master of this, and then eventually these ended up being mass produced with like a CNC machine. But in fact, I've got one here in my bar also. So here we go. Mine's not painted, but it is signed by Bob.
Yeah.
And so that shield actually existed in Disneyland. So this is before the Polynesians even opened, right? And there's I think I've seen 3 of them around the Polynesian. But from that shield, I talked to Bob and Leroy and I said, so does this guy have a name? Because people were calling him Shrug because he's kind of doing this, or they called him the Poly Tiki, or there was different names that people were coming up with. And I'm like, there's got to be some kind of name. Who came up with this? So when I talked to them, they said that Disney came to them with a drawing, and it was based on that shield because that shield had already existed at Disneyland. So later on, we see a document from the Polynesian that came out in 1972, copyrighted 1972, that gives you a little story about the little guy, and they say his name is Maui, and they give the story of Maui, and I get where that comes from because the story of Maui is he captures the sun, and so the top of his head kind of looks like the sun, and he's kind of holding it up, but ironically enough, it's really based on that Papua New Guinea shield, which isn't Maui. But I mean, it was a fun story to give out to the guests, and it didn't last for very long. In fact, so it was Hal Bowers who he's got what's the name of his site? Retro Disney. So he does a bunch of stuff for that, and he found that piece of paper and sent it to me. And I posted it in. I used to write articles for my site, kind of news, and we finally said he's finally got a name, and we threw this out there. And this was back in, it was way before even the DVC was done. And the ironic part is after we posted that, everyone, including Disney, has kind of run with the name now, saying that he's Maui.
He's not right.
Cool with that, at least he's got a name. It's better than Shrug or Tiki Guy or Poly Guy. So, okay, so now we all call him Maui, including some people in Disney. Although I was told at some meeting they said, well, he's not really Maui, which is probably the case. I don't think he obviously originally wasn't carved to be a representation of Maui, but here we are today. We're calling him Maui. Let's go with it. But you can see how it goes back to that Papua New Guinea shield. It had nothing to do with Maui, and the shields are in Disneyland and in the Polynesian and everything. And so that's where this icon came from. And now, they've still got him around the resort. Somebody the other day, I was watching the video and they said, they took him out of the resort. He's nowhere to be found anywhere other than the lobby. And obviously we see him now mounted in the centerpiece of the new lobby. Well, okay, so this picture was when they first did the lobby. They had the fountain part constructed. And somebody had said, it was too boring, so they needed to add something to it, so they put the Maui on it. Well, Maui was always intended, you can see him in the concept, he was always intended to be part of that feature. It was just that they hadn't got him from whoever was making him. They hadn't got him to the resort in time for the opening of the lobby. So he had to be installed later. But he was always intended to be there. And a lot of people, the biggest complaint I hear, and I get it because I kind of feel this way too, is the major waterfall that everybody remembered, and the sights and the smell and the sound is gone, and this is what we get as our water feature. Right. So the intent of this design by Imagineer was when you walk in the front doors, you can look through the lobby out the back doors and see the castle, and they achieved that goal. I mean that is what you can do now. Yeah, it's maybe not as grand as the waterfall was. The waterfall had to come out for reasons I'm not really allowed to discuss, but I agree with the reasons that they took it out. Could they have built another one? Sure, they could have. But like I said, they were going for a different intent. More room, easy visibility through as you walk through. And this is what we've got now. So, we can appreciate the past. We can't keep on being angry about things that are gone. Just move on. You gotta go with what's there.
Yeah, it's a cleaner view. I mean, it gives you the feeling of like Aulani or the island type of feel, because when you walk into some of these tropical places, you can see like you said, right through the back,
open air,
the front. Yeah. So that's what they're trying to do. I mean, So that other lobby, which was really cool, just blocked a lot of that. So now when you walk into the Poly, and the first thing you could see is, Maui's in the middle.
You're greeted by Maui, yeah, right.
You're greeted by Maui, but like you said, now you could see the castle from through the back area.
And to be honest, sometimes we got to consider the people that work there and are there every single day, and the sound of the waterfall that we enjoyed drove them nuts. It was hard to talk over it, have conversations with people at check-in or greet them when they came in. And I can understand. I mean, if you're there and there's just the noise all day long and you work there every day, I'm sure for some people it was uncomfortable.
Right.
So that's the reason it came out, but at least, that's something we can say, at least to ease their pain a little bit. Right. And I can appreciate that. I don't have to work there every day.
Right. Yeah. I mean, water running in the background might make you have to go to the bathroom constantly.
I was thinking it, but I wasn't going to say it.
I always say the inappropriate thing. That's my job here. But I mean, you've had a couple coffees on your midnight shift with the water fountain going all night, and you're like, guys, I can't do this anymore. I got to go.
Yeah.
Hello to everybody tuning in, by the way. I see a lot of people popping in. And hi, hello to all of you. Again, we're live with Steve Seifert, our expert Polynesian and TikiMan, all around TikiMan. And we've got Skipper J as well. So aloha. Hello to people watching over on Instagram Live and Facebook. Steve, does this picture fall in with when
I went to Oceanic Arts, those guys were great. They gave me a tour of the whole place. They showed me some of the stuff that was actually still there that was carved either for the Polynesian, and like they would change the name, so they had to write a new sign, or they had some stuff that was kind of a concept carving, or they had one of the original ashtrays, which actually I've got one. I don't know if you can see down there in the corner there.
Oh wow, yeah, one of the big ones.
So the ashtray they had was actually the one. So this one's fiberglass, and that's what they did. So they did these carvings, and then they made fiberglass molds of it. It's the same way the tikis that you see outside the tiki room in Disneyland, or the ones you used to see all around the Polynesian property, the Pele, the Uti, all that. They were done by Rolly Crump. Did the he carved them, or I think it was clay he actually used, and he made the original ones, and then they made a mold from that they then did all the ones that you see around. In fact, I've seen the Pele at the Polynesian. It had actually broken off of its base, and for as big as it wasn't very heavy because it was fiberglass.
Right, yeah.
It looked really real. So that's what they did with a lot of stuff, but they had like a master from that, and then they made like the ashtrays are made from the master, and then they're molded, and then you used to see them all over the place. So they did all the carvings for the the signs and the stuff that's up on the wall. Some of it's still there, a lot of it's been removed, but that they started flipping through this photo album they had, and that's what that picture was. And when Bob was showing me the full photo album, it was when they actually went, some of the stuff like you see there, that was when it was still on property. You can actually, the bottom when you can see the big sign that used to be out front, and then that disc is actually still up on the wall when you walk up to Ohana. And some of that stuff's still there, then the Tangaroa Terrace stuff. So they were flipping through this book, and I was loving it. I mean, it was really cool. It was either the stuff before it got delivered, or they actually then went back to the Polynesian. I think it was a little bit later. I want to say it was even like in the 80s. And they kind of took pictures of the stuff that was still there around the resort. Mm-hmm. And for them, it was neat to see it in place.
Kim says she could see smoke coming from Skipper J's brilliant mind. We're fangirling here with talk of Polynesian and history. We've got I'm
just looking at the pictures tonight, just like ooh.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. Kim also said you still see the pretty water on the front too of the statue. So
yeah, if you I try and collect as many of the old pictures that I can find. I have people that come to my site that find old photos and post them, and it's just a rare collection of looking into the Polynesian and how much it's actually changed over there. Even the lobby, the way it looks now, all that rock and stuff came in when Clyde was the GM. I don't know if he started there. I might have been in the late 80s. I want to say it was the late 80s, but he went into the 90s, and he took out the tile and he brought in the rock, and he kind of made it more, I would say, Hawaiian,
Right.
and he started with the cast members really pushing that aloha spirit with them, in a good way, not like beating them over the head, like be nice to the guests. It's like, I'm going to appreciate you guys. And then that'll spill down to the guests. That feeling will resonate with the guests that you come into interaction with. And so he kind of made it a little more Hawaiian. That's when Ohana came, and then eventually, Kona Cafe, replaced Coral Cafe. That was actually later in the 90s. But they were getting more of a Hawaiian feel. But you got to remember, when the Polynesian started out, it really wasn't supposed to be Hawaiian. It was very, French Polynesian, and you think of Papeete Bay, and it really didn't have a Hawaiian look or feel to the rooms or the lobby, or really any of the stores or anything. But that's because the intent wasn't to be Hawaii. That's why when everyone keeps on saying that the new DVC should look like Aulani, well, Aulani was designed with a lot of input from Native Hawaiians.
Right.
And that's why it looks the way it does. Whereas the Polynesian should not ever look that way, because it's not supposed to be a Hawaiian resort. It's supposed to be a Polynesian.
I think people get the two confused too, right? Like the names of the buildings are areas in the French Polynesian, right? I mean, you've got
the Polynesian Islands. Yeah,
right, exactly.
One of the reasons they changed the names in '99 was because they wanted to reorient the longhouses to match how they are, on a map, location wise. Right. And also they changed Tonga, the suites was Bali High, and Bali High is a fictional island that was in South Pacific. So they gave it a real name.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't mind that it's gone a little more. I think people appreciate, because I think for a lot of people, the Polynesian on the East Coast was their taste of Hawaii, right? Like they're not who's going to fly 10 hours to go to Hawaii from the East Coast? Not too many people. Well, there you go. Okay. and like even my wife going there since she was little, and she even used to take Tahitian dancing. That was her version of Hawaii. When I finally took her to Hawaii, she never thought she'd ever go actually visit the real Hawaii, and the Polynesian was her Hawaii. So for a lot of people, it is. So, if they want to bring some more Hawaiian culture into there, which they did, that's fine. People appreciate that and can learn, more of the culture and
the culture.
And so many of the cast members there, used to do the dancing in the lobby, and people were exposed to a lot of that.
Can I ask you just a quick history question? I mean, was that French Polynesian thing, was that a real post-World War II? That's what we knew coming back from the war. That's what we saw in films. And it just kind of, as that generation's gone away, they've switched it to Hawaiian to be more familiar?
No, I honestly think it had a lot to do with Clyde coming in. He had, either before or I know after, he started working at hotels in Hawaii. So I think he was, and you got to remember, a lot of the cast members that were there, there was quite a few that were from Hawaii, right? And I think they were just trying to take that and make it take out like the turquoise. Well, actually at the time it was white tile. It went from turquoise to white tile around the fountain, and take out the checkered floor that used to be in the lobby when you walked in, and just make it more, earth tones, and even the rooms started to become more of that look, which the ironic part is people say, oh, they were too dark. That was my biggest complaint. Polynesian rooms are too dark, too dark. I don't like it. And it's like now they're seeing the new DVC and they're saying they're too light. So
I don't like this.
Which one, you want it to look, more like it used to, or do you want it to look more, lights and beiges and be bright? So
Kim is asking if French Polynesia is close to Hawaii in culture and food.
Oh, that's a no.
Oh, yeah, not really. Yeah,
there's so many islands. You got to remember, they're really not in even close proximity to each other.
Yeah.
I mean, some are when you start getting, like Rarotonga, Aotearoa, all that is more towards New Zealand. You've got different islands near Tahiti, Fiji's, and Samoa are kind of a little bit off by their own. But no, I mean their style of tiki, their language, their food, their dress, everything is very, very different. Hawaii's a little bit of a blend of that because that's where they came from, right? To find the Hawaiian Islands. And then it's funny, we've mentioned Menehune, and it used to be that there are these mythical creatures that are mischievous and all that. In fact, they used to tell people that the reason they didn't have balconies on the second floor at the longhouses was because the Menehune would get up on the second floor and do something to your room. And and the ironic part is they've discovered that the Menehune was a real race of small people that were there before the Tahitians found the Hawaiian Islands. Right. So in a way, it's interesting. They kind of took them over and kind of even put them a little bit into like a slave state where they would have them do work for them because they were excellent builders. But they were a real culture, but mischievous they weren't. They were actually very intelligent and like I said, good at making things. So there's so many different cultures, and some of it gets blended a little bit in the Hawaiian Islands that you see, which is maybe why they bring some of that over to the Polynesian, so it have a little bit of taste of Tahiti and Fiji and Samoa and Hawaii.
Yeah, and in Aulani, there's the Menehune scavenger.
Oh, around the resort, right.
Yeah, around the resort too. So they've kind of made it, like you said, these mythical creatures and stuff, but like I guess maybe to fit their storyline, and they sell it, and then they have a scavenger hunt. So Kim says so. There's Polynesian influence in Hawaii. For
sure.
Say so.
Yeah. And like I said, originally, if we're going to talk about later, the original, concept of the Polynesian was nothing like what it is now, and it would have been as far as you can get from Hawaii or any of the islands, as far as the influence.
This is the Poly right here.
So what you're seeing here is Luau Cove. This was back in, I want to say 2010 maybe, because when I first asked in the early 2000s, I said, are they ever going to build a DVC at the Polynesian? And they said, no way, it's not going to happen. We looked at it, the grounds aren't big enough, there's no place to put them. Well, fast forward to 2010, and site balloons start going up, including this one you see at Luau Cove. And that's to represent a 5-story longhouse that they were going to have grouped over in that area. So we saw it come, we saw it happen that they finally took out the luau to put, that's in the area that we used to be called Luau Cove. Right. And so, but they weren't, that wasn't the original concept. And we're going to talk about how there was concepts that people, I think were just rumors, or people made stuff up, or the bus driver told you this. And some of these quote unquote rumors were fact. They were planned, had concepts, they were moving forward with them. And for one reason or the other, usually budget, things got changed. So we went from, there's a concept of what the 5-story longhouse would have looked like.
Let's see. Is that?
No, that's the original. That's the original model. That is too.
Not it.
That is too.
And I'm just sitting here looking at the pictures.
We'll go back over these if you're all excited about seeing these. But
then I'm trying to find it. Why am I now? Well,
it looks like
this is the current one.
Yeah, it looks like it's a rendering. It's an artist rendering.
Why can't I find it? No, that's not the one.
Is it the one where it's no?
Here, maybe I can.
This is not it either, right?
Here it is. Well, yeah, that's it. There we go.
Oh, there you go.
So see how it looks like a longhouse, right?
Right.
And it looks like the entryway. So this would have been over like where, it was Rapa Nui. It's now Pago Pago. And yes, that's the right way to pronounce it. As Scott, if he's still watching, finally told me how to say it correctly.
Pagu.
No, I get so adamant about how to pronounce things. And in fact, on my site, if you go to the Longhouse, it used to have the pronunciation. It would say it, so you knew how to say it. So anyway, this would have been over there. They were going to tear down the Longhouses, not rebuild them into what they did. They took them and rebuilt them into the DVC rooms, but they were going to clear all that out and build new longhouses that were going to house the studios. Along with that, they were going to have another pool that's over near there with a lazy river and all that stuff. And obviously that got cut out of the budget. And that's what happens. I mean, like I can't show you. I showed you guys earlier, but I can't post this and I can't really share it. But there's a whole list of concepts that they had for the resort, and including so what they did right before the DVC opened, they redid the volcano pool into what's now the lava pool, right? And along with that, they added the kids area, splash area with their little slide and everything. Well, originally in the concept before DVC was built, they were going to, as soon as you walked out the back of the Great Ceremonial House, there'd be kind of the kids pool. In the concept, it looks like it works its way right almost up to the doors, which I found kind of interesting. I'm not sure how you'd walk right out the back doors and be in the pool area.
In a pool, but right.
It went into that area that's now the grass area that's called the Gathering Place, which is where they do the movies and the entertainment and the kids and all the kids, stuff that they used to do on the beach. They wanted to give it an area for that to happen, right? So that didn't happen. And then the other thing is the pool was going to completely come out, not be refurbished like they did to the volcano pool, which they resurfaced it, and then they kind of changed the volcano to look more like lava formations. It was going to be a whole new pool that was going to be actually more in the location of where the original pool was located. That was up more towards Hawaii. And then there was going to be a rock formation there with a waterfall. And on the backside of that was, in the picture, there's a 3-tier system of, I guess, hot tubs. They look like hot tubs because they're too small to be pools. And they would have faced, that's kind of what it looks like. And they would have faced the castle, right? And had a view of the castle.
Oh, cool.
And I would never have gotten out ever. I just live in that hot tub.
Be a shriveled up raisin right now.
And the funny thing is in the concept picture, there's no fence around the pool. So that shows you how far back, they were still concepting it, because they had to add that in because of Florida laws eventually. But it just shows you how, things are planned and were going to happen, and they weren't just rumors, but at some point the plan changed. And, obviously we had that with the DVC because there was going to be a phase 2 and I think even a phase 3. Now, what's funny is at some point when I first heard about phase 2 was going to be, they were going to still take that 5-story longhouse and actually put it in where the Tangaroa Terrace is. That's now not really doing anything, right? It's a cast member area, and the arcade was there, and the Neverland, the Lilo's Playhouse. They were going to take that out and put it looked like to me that's where the longhouse was going to go, because in the concept picture I saw, the monorail was running right next to it, and the only place on property besides Luau Cove, but it would have been right there, because how the monorail runs right past the backside of Tangaroa Terrace. Mm-hmm. So it looked like that was going to go there, and then somebody even told me that would know. They were going to put more bungalows out on Beachcomber Isle, which is where the wave machine used to be.
Right.
And what's weird is I'm thinking, how would people get back and forth from if the boat stopped and they get out their own little boat? Or so logistically, I don't even know how that would work. But that was, at some point, somebody had that in their head to do that. I guess maybe you'd have the whole island to yourself, and who knows, maybe you'd have your own food out there. I don't know. But obviously that didn't happen, and I'd be surprised if I ever see that ever.
Small boat system,
something for real.
I know what my version of heaven is now.
Well, they used to do, the boat used to go out there and they have treasure hunts or something way back when that thing wasn't completely covered in foliage. Yeah. And I always thought that would have been cool. I would have loved to have somebody come up with some pictures of that. It's even hard to find pictures of, the old cruise they used to do on the Chinese junk, the Eastern Winds that used to be docked there. And people just don't save these pictures, or they're tucked away in a box, or they don't scan them in. So, we got to get people to start scanning these things in so we can share them and store them somewhere for people to enjoy.
But part of that concept.
So let's go back to, this is the concept that would have been around back when Walt was still alive. So obviously this isn't what happened, but this was the original concept for the Polynesian. And it actually, as much as I can't say I'm a huge fan of the new building that's going up, it really does clash. But here's the thing: if you go to some of the other pictures,
that kind of looks like that.
This big building, that was surrounded at one point surrounded by kind of bungalows on the water and longhouses. Because there's another picture I think that kind of shows the longhouses out along the water, along with this. No, that's what it then eventually came. So there we go. So you kind of see longhouses out there, and you see this big building is kind of the central area, right? So that's pretty much they're clashing the two looks. You got the kind of a hut longhouse look, and then you've got this big, huge, somewhat modern building. Kind of
like a like you said earlier before we went live. This reminds me of almost like a pyramid shaped contemporary.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
maybe they would have constructed it like that, because like we talked about earlier tonight, all the rooms for the contemporary and the Polynesian were all built off site. Most people know that. They were trailered in, but here's the difference. Everyone says, they were all slid in place like drawers, like we talked about that earlier. That's how it was at the contemporary tower, but at the Polynesian here you can see they stacked them. There was no framework. There was nothing there. They stacked them like blocks. And then they hooked, all the plumbing and electrical and everything up. And then after that, if you look at, there we go. So if you look at that, you see what, at the time it was Samoa, not Hawaii, out in front here along the beach. So you see them being stacked here, but then you'll see, what would that have been? Tonga, I forgot what Samoa was called way back when. So you see the framework going up around the building after they stack all the rooms, right? So the framework was actually added after, which means, because there was another rumor used to be, they made them modular so they could slide them out and put in a new room design. Well, that was never going to happen. And that was never intended to happen, because once it was boxed in, it was there for good. Yeah. In fact, they had so many issues with it being modular and being these voids around the room and growing mold and moisture that in 2002, I think it was 2002, they started to fill up. They actually ripped down all the walls in the longhouses, pulled out the floors. I have pictures of it.
Oh wow!
And filled it all in with cement. So people that say, these rooms are old and they're rotting and falling apart, that's not true. There's almost every part of the Polynesian at this point has been replaced, including down to the walls in the room, because it wasn't going to last. Yeah. So nothing, I can't think of really anything, maybe the roof itself, although it's been repainted and parts have been replaced. I can't think of much of anything there at the Polynesian you could say is original, like is there from 71, because even the outer wood trim and everything has all been taken out and replaced at some point. So they are working on it all the time, and it drives people crazy because they're like, it's always construction, but they're always working on it to keep it in one piece,
fresh,
and in good shape.
Karen Lobo Martin says, favorite resort, of course, we will be there in November. We stayed at Aulani in Hawaii, and there was definitely a poly vibe there. Same smell. It's funny because Kim said a few comments back, when we were showing those photos, looks like contemporary as well. It really does. It kind of stands out. But the thing that kills me is like people expect Disney, like all of Disney, to never change, and Disney's ever evolving, and it's going to change. I don't know.
The Polynesian, I think, has gone through some of the most drastic changes. I mean, you think about the contemporary, and in stuff inside the restaurants and all that have changed. Sure, the rooms have definitely changed, but I don't know that they've had as drastic a change over the years as the Polynesian has. Not only in the looks of the rooms, which you can see on my site, we posted all the old rooms and how they look, but the pool's changing, the beach line changing, the buildings being added over the years. Now we have the tower. Just so many things have changed that there's nothing we can do about it. We can still appreciate it, or we can say it's changed too much. I don't like it anymore. Okay,
I don't want to go.
Yeah, I mean, no one's making you have to go. It's unfortunate, but what I like in my group is I try and get away from the negativity. I like to be able to post a picture of the waterfall and not have 20 people just griping about it being gone. Because I'm there with you. I don't like that it's gone, but can we take a time to appreciate, have it be positive, have it be that we're sharing memories with people, showing them if they never saw what it looked like, and have it be kind of a positive place to go. Yeah, I remember that. Thanks for sharing the picture. It's great, and it brings back great memories.
It invokes memories, and exactly. That's what it's supposed to do, but it's not going to stay like that forever.
Yeah, it's 53 years old. It's going to change. It's going to evolve. I mean, it's going to adapt.
Sure.
With modern
if things don't change, you'll have a museum.
And we're not going to like everything that changed. I mean, to be honest, in the late 90s when they took the longhouses used to be all brown, and now there's this iconic look to it that's the the orange and the kind of the red and the white stripes, right? They put it on now. It's on the front when you first drive up. They've got that there, and I think people were hoping that would be kind of spill over into the new tower to have a little bit of that look. But that look, came in the late 90s. For all before then, they were all just brown, and it sounds kind of plain, but to be honest, for me, when they kind of put all the paint on, and I first showed up, I think it was like 98, and I was like, where'd all these colors come from? It seemed a little cartoony for me. And it was because I was used to the old Polynesian not being all these weird colors, right? But on the other hand, I didn't like it, but it grew on me, and it became, kind of represents the Polynesian now, and people know it by those colors. So, you just kind of, you either grow to love it or you move on,
Yeah. Kim says she thinks it evolved beautifully, but she wants to know the elevators. I think some may be original or like she. The inside of them themselves, aren't originally. They've been changed at some point. Maybe not real recent, but yeah, the elevators. I mean, I don't know what it would take to actually pull the whole, mechanism out and redo that in the longhouse. That'd probably be quite a feat to do that. A major thing. I mean, this is what the current tower is going to look like when it's complete.
Yeah. So so you're getting kind of that that clash, right? We talked about it. What it would have been if they would have gone with the original concept. Now, if you look at something that I found interesting, if you look at one of the old early artist renderings of what the big tower would have looked like inside, there you go. So that would have been the lobby, right? Now compare that a little bit to what the new lobby is going to look like.
Exactly.
I mean, it's not identical, but it kind of has a little bit of that feel, right?
Yeah. It's very similar, except the newer concept gives you a better view out the back again.
But the feeling of the design is there.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's what they were going for.
It definitely is there. Yeah.
But I guess you can lean on this. You can say, well, maybe they're trying to bring back what Walt would have seen as the concept for whatever reason. Because honestly, I don't think they were going for. I think they were going for like a vacation resort. Something, because there's plenty of resorts out there. I posted some on my site that look like that kind of pyramid, kind of stacked, tall building that you see in places like Mexico and Hawaii and, all over. I think I even saw one in Tahiti. It looked very similar to the concept. And I think it's because at that time, maybe they were going for more of kind of a modern resort, and will maybe theme it a little bit, have touches that, because you got to remember, it was actually supposed to be, they had the Adventureland tikis there. So Adventureland isn't necessarily Hawaiian, or it's just kind of a mix of all kinds of things, right? And so who knows what their idea was, but maybe now they're trying to go there. And I'll admit, possibly part of it is like budget, right? They didn't want to go full on theme and make it exactly match the Polynesian, because it's easier to make what everyone's calling another Marriott, right?
But it's an island tower they're describing it as, so it's going to be a different feel vibe. Totally. But I think it looks great.
I've been seeing it on an almost weekly basis, and as I'm taking the ferry every week to Magic Kingdom, and you kind of pull away and you see it from the side. From my perception, it kind of seems like it's going to complement it in the way Bay Lake Tower does contemporary. It's different enough, but the same enough that it will kind of flow, I think.
I think what people don't like the most about it, other than and I agree, they could have done a little bit more theming to it. Even the concepts we saw of the pool that they posted recently, it's pretty bland. But here's the thing. The biggest complaint is it's so tall that when you're kind of nestled away sitting at the pool at the Polynesian, you see it towering over the longhouses. So you can't kind of immerse yourself in the old Polynesian feel without seeing it kind of stick out like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
And I kind of agree with that. It's a little looming over, everything at the moment, and it will be even after it's done. But it is what it is. Let's hopefully, there'll be some things to appreciate it from, the new bar and grill that's going to be at the pool. And I'm assuming there's probably going to be some food venue there. There's going to be some interesting viewing areas that are in there. Some, great views from your room. Not so sure that the other side being, which by the way, we're going opening day. We're going to stay in, we're trying out the 2-bedroom on the lagoon side, and then we're trying out a studio on the standard. And there's weird because on the backside there's another, what do they call it, premium or something view. That's because it views the golf course, so it's higher up on the building. But so you'll pay more to see the golf course.
Kim's saying, "What's the pool like, Kim?" This is right off of Steve's group as well, because a member was there and just took pictures of this construction. So this is just a photo of it. But again, I reserve judgment because there's nothing around it. It's not complete, and it is a tall building. But hold on. So is the Grand Floridian in the background. And when that was first built, people probably said, wow, it's really big. It's massive. Look how huge this is as an undertaking. Like,
they used to call it the Mistake by the Lake when they first opened Grand Flow.
I don't have the concept art of the pool, Kim. It's not very special, but things can change because
the new pool. I posted one on my page. There was one that came out, and I think there just wasn't. People were commenting it looked pretty plain and
pretty bland, right?
Chairs and umbrellas around, but like really not a lot of tropical foliage. And I know in the original concept art, it looked like there was like another tier above it that would spill into the lower pool, and it doesn't look like that's going to happen because there's no construction going on above it.
Right.
So that might have been another one of those things that were cut. They just said, well, we got to cut the budget somewhere, so let's not do this part.
Take away that.
Maybe it was logistics. Maybe there was something that was going to make it a problem to build. Who knows? There's reasons we don't know, and they're not going to share with us. But we have to kind of go with what they decide.
Right.
It's like, I will say I did not like it when I first saw the concept, and I very much pooed it. But
I like it.
It's grown on me. It really has. And I haven't even seen.
There's going to be its pluses and minuses, but I'm gonna see how it is. I'm a DVC owner, and if I wasn't, I probably still wouldn't be staying at the Polynesian because it's way too expensive to pay for cash. So I'm hoping that the rooms are nice. I'll probably still want to stay a lot of times over at the original rooms that were built for DVC. I love the location. I love the rooms. They're made in the longhouses that had the larger rooms that were built after the original design by quite a bit. In fact, that whole second bathroom that's in the studios over in the newer longhouses, it doesn't really take up any more room to the bedroom area because the older original rooms were that much smaller. By that amount of room, so your bedroom area basically is the same size in both rooms. You just get an extra bathroom in the studios because the rooms were that much longer.
Yeah.
So I think they're great. And, and they did just the studios because at the time they said, well, most DVC just, they sell the studios, but the 1 and 2 bedrooms don't always sell out. So they didn't want to have a bunch of those laying around empty. And then they said, well, if you want a 2-bedroom, you can get a bungalow, but I don't think anybody realized they were going to cost as much as they did. Not too many people. Yeah, right. But they said you could always, all of the studios are attached, so you could attach 2 of them if you want a 2-bedroom. Kind of.
We get studios because it's just the 3 of us. But Kim wants to know, Steve, how do we get into the rooms first? LOL. I don't know if Steve can get you in the room, Kim, but what I'd like to say to Bob and Josh and anybody out there listening that works with Disney, we would love to be invited to the media event, man. Bring us in. We'll do a great job covering it. we'll go top to bottom. We'll show everybody.
Dave and I are funny together. You just put a couple drinks in us. Let us run.
Like Bert and Ernie in the room. Yeah. Oh yeah. I'll pay for my own drinks. Trust me. But but that's how we'll get into the room, Kim.
I'm curious we've seen the concept pictures, but I'd really like to get inside the room, and I'm sure I'll be doing videos, and Scott's joining me at the 2-bedroom. So we'll be doing some videos, maybe some live stuff from there.
Definitely.
I think I know somebody. So we'll see. We know somebody that has a 1-bedroom. So we'll see that. We'll be in a 2-bedroom, and then we'll be in the studio. And I don't remember if somebody was staying in the duo, but I'm curious as how that one's going to go, because we just stayed at the Disneyland villas, and our friend had the duo. And I think it's a great idea. I mean, it's lower on points. It's a little cozy, but if there's just 2 of you, it really has kind of what you need. I think more than 2 people, you wouldn't want to try and cram into the duo. It's pretty small, but we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it looks, and maybe we'll get some pictures and video of how that looks. But we'll definitely have it of the other rooms.
Can we cram 6 of us in one room?
Well, how about this? We'll just go get a bungalow, and we'll see how many people we can cram in that one.
We'll just get some hammocks from downstairs and hang them.
I've always wanted a bungalow.
I was originally told the ones on top were going to be grand villas, so I guess I assumed they'd be 3 bedrooms, but they're 2 bedrooms, and what they call them, there's something suites, grand suites.
Right.
Anyway,
are those
premium.
The 2 giant cutouts
on top. No.
Oh,
okay. What are even rooms?
Okay,
I think they're going to be observation areas, and I don't know if there's going to be anything else in them, but they're not rooms. But the ones on top that you see right in the middle, those are the big, whatever. I wish I remember what they call them. But anyway, one was available when we're there.
Wow.
And we almost were going to pull the trigger on it, but it was going to be too much. So, but maybe we'll get to see inside one. I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, if it's open, they can show it to you.
Yeah. I can't stay in those top rooms because I'll never leave. I'll get trespassed.
They'll
knock me off the balcony.
That's how I felt the couple times I've stayed in the bungalow. I didn't go anywhere. I stayed in that bungalow. They still had room service, so we got food to the room, and that's where I stayed. I wasn't going to leave it.
I would stay as well. I would just watch the fireworks from the bungalow, get food,
exactly,
and chang out. Is there going to be a lounge or something fancy schmancy on top? Yes.
No
lounge.
No, not on top.
Kim, no.
Those are rooms.
Those are just rooms.
Yeah, I think a lot of people thought that was going to be some kind of lounge thing, and it's
lounge, restaurant-y. Yeah.
It'd be the most expensive room on property, I bet.
Well. I don't know. They didn't show the point chart yet, but going by the price, I would be surprised if it's more than the bungalow.
Really?
It may be, but we'll just have to wait and see how it turns out with the points chart. They're going to be comparable probably, but I think maybe they might be a little bit less than a bungalow. They're still pushing those bungalows to this high price point. So.
Oh God, yeah.
We're planning a bungalow for our 20th anniversary in 4 years. I think that's enough time to save up and pay for one without DVC.
It might be. I mean, the DVC tower is under the same DVC
contract.
I guess contract. So will that maybe help lower the bungalow?
Well, I kind of hope that. But it sounds like the experts are saying no. And I'm not sure how or why that works out that way. Right. But it does.
It's a certain amount of points allocated or however it works. But.
Yeah. I mean, because there was some suggestion that the bungalows were going to come down in points at one point, and then they were going to have to tack it on to the studios. Because there's obviously so many. Yeah. But so obviously there's this mix of points, right? Well, then if you're adding all these rooms on, I guess they're going to be selling more points. So I guess that's the deal. But it sure would have been nice if they found a way to maybe spread that out a little bit more and not have the bungalows be so ridiculously priced. So
hi, Lauren.
It doesn't sound like it's going to happen.
Darn it. Do we have maybe an extra 5 minutes? Let's call them bonus minutes to talk about. We were talking about changes before about a 5th park. It's not a rumor. It's an actuality that just didn't come to fruition.
Well, okay, so that's the thing, and a lot of people when we we talked about this on some podcasts years and years and years ago. And I think people thought we were full of crap and making this up. But, you know, a lot of concepts happen, and some of the rumors are true, and they were real plans. And like I showed you earlier, and you'll see the backside of it now, there's pictures of a whole warehouse full of stuff that was ready to go for a fifth park way back when. And I'm trying to remember when it was, but I know we talked, it was before kind of that recession when, the home loans and all that, and everyone was losing their houses and the economy crashed. So here was the thing. The fifth park, I'm not exactly sure. The way it was described to me, I couldn't really tell where it was going to go. It almost sounded like it was going to go back behind the Magic Kingdom, but I'm not for certain on that at all.
Almost like this Beyond the Magic Kingdom project that's coming up.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of seemed like that's the way they described it. But when they described what the concept was, and we got to go back to what the economy was then and think that, so it was going to be an evening. It wasn't going to be an early park, and it was going to be a park where you had to like make a reservation. Where back then that was a new concept. Now we're
before,
but you didn't have to do that before, and you were going to have to make a reservation, pay a large amount, and it was going to be somewhere around like $300+ per person per ticket. Which even that doesn't sound crazy now because the ticket prices so much. But back then that was like a lot because what were ticket prices in like 2006? I mean, like.
$70
yeah.
So think $350 right per person. That's a lot. And then what it was going to be is you pay for your tickets, get your reservation, and it was going to be almost like a guided adventure. The way it was explained to me. So you go in, and there wouldn't be just like mingling about and going on rides. There'd be like going through and doing like a jungle trek and doing like even like zip lines and all these things that you'd be guided through. And when you're kind of done with this adventure, you'd end up at a place that you'd have like a meal, and maybe there'd be a show as part of the meal. But so that's kind of what it was going to be. It was going to be called Night Kingdom, and I don't remember if they said it was night like in nighttime or like in Knights of the Round Table kind of thing.
Right. Sounds like Adventurous Clubbish.
Right. So
a little bit of the Star Cruiser.
Yeah.
Well, okay, maybe, but I think then they decided the price was going to be, no one was going to do it with the economy the way it was. They weren't going to get enough, and so we're not going to spend all the money building this thing. So it's interesting. I don't know whatever will happen to all that stuff. They had some amazing stuff carved up for to put as displays. And it would be nice to see them, come out and be used. Well, I don't know. Maybe whatever they build it at Fifth Park, they'll end up using that stuff.
Yeah, I thought I heard recently, like not only were they filing permits for the beyond or behind the Thunder Mountain, that expansion, but Fifth Park as well. I mean, remember, don't they have to spend a certain amount of money because they promised with the whole district and everything that was going on with DeSantis. Elizabeth,
they proved him for a fifth park and two smaller parks in the next 20 years.
But don't they have to spend like was it a $10 billion or some crazy amount of money in that they promised to spend that? So I think that was one of the permits that were filed. And I'm trying to remember where I read that, but I don't know if I like that concept per se, because I mean, maybe it's just traditional when you think of Disney park or theme park. That's not what you think about rides and restaurants and stuff. But it is kind of a different option.
You mentioned, Star Cruiser. I'm wondering if that was one of those things where they thought, somebody sat in a room and said, "Oh, this is like so off the wall and so new, and everyone's going to just love it."
Right.
And then it seems, they convince everybody it's a great idea, and then let's go do it. And I think Star Cruiser wasn't a horrible idea, but I don't think they quite understood, how to price it, first of all, and how big their audience was going to be. And so it might have been the same thing. Like, I think they were really honestly gearing it towards, and we see that with a lot of stuff going on, the wealthy. And it's unfortunate. I mean, a lot of people are really being priced out of anything Disney. And it seemed like it was kind of starting back then. It's kind of like what somebody told me one time that like it used to be on the airlines that the first class tickets paid for the whole plane to operate, and everything else was just extra, right?
Yeah,
so if you,
bonus, right.
If you get the people to fill up the first class, you're good to go. So it's like maybe they're thinking, well, we don't need to have a ton of people in this park because we're going to charge them so much. It'll be like filling a park, right?
Right.
Cost wise.
That's what they were saying. Yeah, a while ago, right? We'd rather have the people that are going to come once in a lifetime and spend a ton of money than the repeat visitor. And that was their concept.
Well, you think about the other thing is it would keep down the crowds in the park, right?
Yeah.
So they get less people for more, the same amount or more money. I get that concept. It's just unfortunate for the rest of us that don't have a ton of money to just spend on that stuff, all the time. So
even raising the ticket prices in the current parks and everything else they're raising prices on, it has not slowed the crowds down. I mean, it's still I guess they thought it would, but it's just not. So although things are really expensive now, people are piling into the parks.
Well, I think it's one thing they should see what the threshold of pain is for people, and they haven't hit it. And the other thing is unfortunately, is people will just sacrifice what they have to continue doing their Disney. And unfortunately, it gets them in bad positions sometimes. Yeah. And it's sad that we have to do that to enjoy, what's there.
A theme park, yeah.
Yeah,
it's
we've
like
seen several articles. Yeah, it is. It's exactly like that. We've seen several articles lately. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
Oh, we've seen several articles lately about people going into debt to go into Disney, and it's like,
ooh,
there goes the whole "what would Walt want" thing. He wanted a good value.
That's what I was going to say. Would Walt want that? Would he want his parks to be not accessible to other than wealthy people or people having to sacrifice so much to pay crazy amounts of? I know we talked about the Polynesian. The room rates are insane. The room standard room in Hawaii club level now, which is really just a basic size room and has the same amenities as the others other than the club level access. It costs as much as when I first toured the King Kamehameha suite back in the early 2000s. And they gave me the price list and I said, oh my God, over $1,000 a night plus 12.5% tax on every night for that. That's like the cost of the room itself. And now we've got that as the price for a theme park view room and club level.
Yeah, I don't know. At some point, it's gotta. I don't know. It's not like they're going to come out and they're going to be like, we're slashing prices.
No, the question I've been asking for a few years now is, at what point are people going to look at Mickey Mouse and not think of Disney, but think of that and go, Mickey Mouse only likes rich kids.
Yeah, right.
You're middle class, Mickey's not for you.
Yeah.
I know it is. It is getting there. I mean,
they've lost the narrative long ago, and it's just getting worse.
Yeah. I get it. I mean, I love it, but sometimes we question whether we should spend that much on flights and stuff to get there. Year by year. So,
now that I live here, I can take real vacations. It's great.
The local. Kim's still got to make you the local. I'm a local t-shirt.
Local. I need my local shirt. And I got it in. I get it in once per episode.
Yeah, I'm a local. Well, that was.
It's going to be knocking on my door on the 17th when we get into the DVC tower.
Yeah, I think my wife might be knocking on the door too.
We'll all be stalking you guys.
Yeah, right. We'll knock on everybody's.
Just follow them up the
elevator. We covered a lot of cool stuff tonight about Polynesian just history and then where they're going with the tower. We just spoke about a fifth park that could have been. I want everybody to head over to Steve's group, and the page again is still accessible, but the group is TikiMan's Polynesian Village Resort Ohana. So please go check that out. That is his Facebook group, and just a lot of cool history there and people posting.
This is my second time on with Steve on, and Steve, I love when you come on. I don't have to do anything but just look at all the pictures.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Steve's got he's got the information.
Every quite a few times, I'm just like staring at stuff, forgetting we're doing a show tonight.
Well, we keep on talking about the bar, and I decided to set up in here so I could show you guys. And this is there's actually quite a few things from the Polynesian in here that I'll hold on until I die, and my kids will probably then take to Goodwill when I'm dead and not realize how much it's all worth. But
they'll fight over it.
Yeah.
I would. Lily says this was a very cool show. Thanks, Steve. Kim says super cool show as usual with Steve. Thank you, Steve. Everyone have a great week. Yeah. We have a short little outro to say goodbye to everybody. But thanks again.
One thing before we go.
Yeah.
We gotta get this one fact straight because we were talking about this earlier. John Lennon did not stay in 1601. And I can tell you that because, and everywhere I go, they say that. And they stand in front of the room. They say, this is where John Lennon signed the documents to end the Beatles. Here's the main reason I say this is because the person I talked to that knew the guy at the Polynesian that checked John in said he didn't remember the room number, but he knew it was in Hawaii, which is now called Samoa. I don't know. I remember that earlier. So a lot of people they said Hawaii. They thought they meant the club level one, right?
The club level, right.
At the time, Hawaii, Samoa was called Hawaii. So it was first floor, facing the pool, mid-building. Well, 1601's right on the corner, so it's not mid-building. So we know it's not that room. In fact, that's probably none of the corner rooms are it, and it could be anywhere in between on that side. The other reason I would say there's no way they put him in that room is because that room, if you've ever been there, is right on the corner where the doors open and close. Well, of course, they weren't automatic then, but still people are coming in and out, slamming doors right outside of your room. It would drive them nuts. And nobody that works there and signs rooms would assign John Lennon to that room because he'd be after a day and he would say, move me, please.
Yeah. He's bugging doors.
No, we don't want to know what room it is, but
you know what? I kind of love that the number has been lost to time. It makes it a mystery. a living mystery.
Kim is saying, "Oh snap! Which building?" So Kim is currently now
building.
Samoa.
Yeah, Samoa. Yeah, it's right.
Yeah. So I was years ago when we stayed there. I had asked one of the cast members, and he said there was still the cast member that worked there that kind of helped, I guess, escort John around on property. I don't know if he still works there, but I was told it was like on facing the pool, but further down. It wasn't on the corner.
Right.
It was more further down.
Because that used to be Hawaii. It's now Samoa, and then Hawaii used to be actually Tonga, before they changed all the names out. Just to make it more confusing.
Yeah. But to everybody out there that's sharing false information, don't do it. You're making your reels and
Tiki God's angry.
I'm very pedantic. Don't do that.
Get your facts straight. Get your facts straight.
No, it's hard. Like I said, it's hard to find the history, the good history. That's why I try and get documents from the Polynesian or from the people that were there or from Imagineering. It's hard. And once it's out there, it spreads, like wildfire. And we're just here to help get it straight so that everyone can pass along the history as it goes, as we go by and with the right information.
Kim is saying we need a medium to channel John. Kim, that would be your number. My wife was a huge Beatles and John Lennon fan, so she's just the right person.
Why don't we just ask my page? He was there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, she's still May Pang, right? Yeah. So she was sent with John on behalf of Yoko to basically take care of John and watch after him while they were on.
Get my husband out of my hair.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So it was her friend, and basically she was like, "I want to make sure John's okay. Go hang out with him."
And that was Julian. Julian was with them, right?
Julian was with him there. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. Yeah, get that iconic picture of him with the Mickey shirt.
Yeah,
on.
But it's funny. People think that's the Polynesian because the chairs look very similar to those strap chairs that the Polynesian had back then. And it's not. I want to say somebody told me, I thought it was Fort Lauderdale, but it's like Cocoa Beach or something that they went to on the same trip, but they stayed at a different resort.
Right. Funny, man. Never a boring time when we have Steve here from the TikiMan's.
Thanks,
group.
guys.
Check it out. Here's our outro. Yeah, definitely. And we'll have to do an update when the Poly Tower is basically done, and then also when you're there and then and showing footage of the rooms and stuff. But again, for everybody else that tuned in tonight, thank you so much. Here's our outro, and we'll see you guys next Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern.